To this story now, some unhappy ANC members have gone to court to challenge the list of 200 NEC candidates. Disgruntled branch members have questioned the criteria used. However, the ANC's electoral committee is expected to oppose the urgent application, which is meant to be heard today. Our reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones joins us live now with the very latest on this story. Good morning, Pule. So this challenge seems to have rubbed the electoral committee up the wrong way, because on every platform they have stated that this was not the route to take. Those members should have engaged them and they would have just given them the data.
Well, what we're seeing unfolding here is some of the, ANC members who are quite disgruntled in the manner in which the nomination process for additional members to the National Executive Committee was handled. And in their court papers, they're asking for the ANC to release the raw data of the members who were voted in by some of the branch delegates as additionals to the NEC committee as well, which of course we do understand is about 200 members for now, but only 80 can make it to the ANC list, followed by the 6 officials within the top 6, which will make it a committee of about 86 members. But they're joining me now. I'm not going to waste any time. We understand that the court session hasn't commenced yet, and we had the opportunity to speak to them this morning. I'm joined by Mr. Mukhudiri. They are under one umbrella representing various disgruntled branches. Thank you very much, Tata, for joining me this morning. Now, there are quite some issues you're raising here, and you're disputing the list. Why is it the case?
Good morning, Pule, and good morning to the viewers of eNCA. When Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe released the list, we then, as members of the ANC in good standing, analyzed the list, and we realized that it does not accord to the rules as published by the Electoral Committee. Upon concluding the analysis, we found out that there were discrepancies about the numbers, and it didn't drill down to say Mukhomotsi was nominated by Brent Soren. So in this region, and then the numbers were consolidated at the regional level and at the provincial level and so on. But we just had a number which was consolidated somewhere, which is really flouting the rules. And that is the basis on which we had an apprehension about the integrity of the list. And we said the best thing to do is to demand the raw data itself, so that it can either dismiss our apprehension or confirm our doubts about the integrity of the list.
The ANC believes that it followed all due process, that you should have approached them before going to court. Mr. Mandisi, was the case?
Not necessarily. Why? We tried our level best to avoid going to court, because we felt this thing could have been resolved within the EC itself. Remember, an elections committee on its own is it's an independent committee from the National Executive Committee. So we are therefore, that's why we will go to the National Executive Committee to inform them that this independent committee is not doing the just that we expect it to do. So we therefore requested the NEC to intervene and oversee this process, because we can see there is flaunting of this process. Because this thing it's easy, it's simple. If you're saying we have 3,000 branches nationally, and province so and so got 500 branches, and all you need to do is just to retrieve from the nominations that came from the branches to say, because each branch made about 86 nominations, including the top 6. So you are able to say these are the additional 80 members that were made from branch so and so, and from branch 2 is so and so, up until to the last 3,000 branch. So that is a very simple thing. That's where the judge needed to do, just to retrieve that particular data and show the transparency of how they done the process. That's what the renewal as well of the ANC speaks of.
And how many branches are you representing?
This is a national cause. That's why I'm making a reference about 3,000 branches. It's a national cause where people, certain branches, they are not happy, where the issues of these names, how they got announced, the 200 names, the nomination that was announced, we felt that it can't be true, because there were certain comrades that were nominated across provinces, but you don't find their names there.
Many are also saying that you may be aligned to a faction that's trying to destabilize this conference. Is that true?
Pule, it's preposterous to accuse us of any alignment to any factions. We are members of the ANC. We are not aligned to any faction. but we are fighting for justice, and that justice is transparency and accountability. So we do not really have any interest of who emerges as president or secretary general and so on and so on. What we are saying is that we want to restore the integrity of the list process or election process of the ANC. We don't have any interest to align with anybody because those factions are the ones who are killing the ANC. So we are against those factions, but we are standing to rebuild and renew the ANC.
Do you believe that the conference may be compromised if this court judgment does not go in your favor? I mean, we've seen throughout the provincial conferences, regional conferences, where applications filed on an urgent notice are usually chucked out to say that there isn't any basis why it should be heard on an urgent notice.
Not at all. Our prayer to court is for the ANC to be compelled to release the raw data. And based on that, we also pray to the courts that they must then order the ANC to place this matter on the conference agenda so that the delegates themselves who come from branches who nominated some of us are able to then see for themselves and satisfy themselves that indeed the process was legit, and if it was not legit, then the conference make a determination of what steps to do to restore the integrity of the process, because the ANC cannot afford to have a leadership which is a product of a poison tree. That means if the list is compromised, there is no way that the delegates can allow their conference to be tainted by wrongdoing. So the conference will be able to correct this thing, and we have confidence with the fact that the conference will continue after correcting any mistakes if mistakes are found.
Maybe just in conclusion, Mandisi, there's been concerns around the electoral system as well, and the deployment statuses and processes of some of the members in the ANC and how it is sometimes rigged. We've seen it at some of the provincial conferences, like I've said before. Going into conference, do you think this is something that must be discussed as well, the electoral system?
Yes, definitely. Remember, this was the resolution of the 54th conference of the ANC, which therefore NEC set on it on 2020. And then they started implementing it in 2021. So the conference spoke to this thing. That's why now the conference has to come back and speak to this thing, especially now with these issues that we have raised that we managed to pick up with this EC. And so that the NEC is able to look, so that the conference is able to look at detailed the rules that were put together by the EC and the oversight role that is supposed to be played by the National Executive Committee to these things. Because you can't have an independent body that is a law to itself to run such a bigger organization like ANC. ANC is the center of the peace of this country. That because it represents the democratic phase that we see. That's why South Africa is the most stable country in the continent. Now, we cannot afford to allow such processes, dubious processes, to collapse the image of the African National Congress.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Madisi. There you go. Those are some of the views from the ANC members who will be, of course, disputing that list, saying that there's so many, issues and, of course, loopholes within the way that list was conducted. They believe that more has to be tackled. They've tried, by all means, to approach the, officials in the organization, especially particularly those at the Electoral Committee, headed by, of course, the former President Kgalema Motlanthe, and, of course, the likes of other officials such as Mr. Matsila, and they believe that going to court was the only alternative to ensure that the ANC body can listen to them as well. But as far as we understand, this matter will be sitting virtually, and it is expected to start. It will be following those proceedings, both applicants filing on an urgent basis, and we'll be giving you an update as the matter proceeds during the day.